Let me bring in Dan Orlovsky. That's a busy man. Dan, you can catch him on NFL Live weekdays at 4 Eastern. Marcus Spears, Mina Kimes, Ryan Clark, Laura Rutledge, and, of course, Monday Night Football as well. Dan, thanks for joining us here.
Always an honor. What's up, Bob?
If I said who's going farther this year, the Rams or the Niners, does recency bias play a role?
No, because the better of those teams in this moment is San Francisco. The team that is more capable of making a deeper run is the Rams. Everyone's going to talk about last night, rightfully so, and the dominant performance by San Francisco defensively. The Rams were down 4 of their top 6 offensive linemen. I would hope San Francisco would dominate the line of scrimmage, given that they're one of the best defenses in the NFL. The Rams do have some issues up front, and they've got to get healthy and better there. There's a reason why they play under center so much right now and try to run the ball and play action, because they're trying to protect their offensive line. Do I think that Odell Beckham is coming to the Los Angeles Rams at some point this year? I do. That is needed. Right now, Allen Robinson cannot get open. So you'll hear everybody today, my boy Marcus Spears is saying it, they got to throw to someone else other than Cooper Kupp. Well, you go play quarterback and do it. That sounds good.
Yes.
But when you got 2 seconds to get the ball out of your hands, you're going to go to the guy that you feel is proving I can get open. So they got to get healthy up front. They got to get Odell back. Because those are 2 needed pieces. San Francisco, no one has questioned, can they be good? The thing with Trey was, man, can Trey make them even better? Can he do things offensively that Jimmy cannot? So good football team. One of the defenses in the NFL I would not want to play or coach against right now is San Francisco. But the difference in the quarterbacking is very real. And the Rams can play in a couple different styles. San Francisco has to play in one very specific one.
I thought San Francisco had the makeup to be a better team because it felt like it was a more balanced team. They run the football, good offensive line. You got a couple of playmakers, Kittle and Debo, and it really comes down to Jimmy G. Can Jimmy G manage a game? Stafford throws a lot of picks, and you're going to start forcing. What did Cooper Kupp have? 18 targets. He had 14 catches, but really nothing that was dangerous there. The running game was not there because of the offensive line. But I just wonder about the offense with the Rams more than I do the Niners offense, which sounds crazy.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't have necessarily the wonders of the Rams right now. The Rams, and I've kind of said this about a couple teams, they don't have the people to be who they are right now. So when that happens, you're trying, okay, who can we be this week? And I think that Sean is trying to figure out, all right, this week, because he's sitting down, we got to play San Francisco 49ers, and I got 3 backup offensive linemen in. It always starts, can you block? How can you block them? All right, so what can we be this week? And till they get healthy up front, this is very similar to the thoughts on like Tampa Bay as well. Until they get really healthy, it's very difficult to say who they can be. Now, if they don't get healthy, Dan, they got no shot. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that their offensive line is going to be out for the length of the season.
Do they win with Garoppolo, or is he
with?
Okay.
They don't win because of Jimmy.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, they win with.
I know that we love to say, all he does is win. Like that Debo catch. I mean, really, that's it. The pass was not good, and Debo made everybody miss. That could have been a pick 6 there, but
there's also something to be said for winning with. I mean, there's 5 or 6 guys that you win because of, and then there's another 8 to 10 that you win with. So there is something to be said for. We win a lot of games with this guy. That doesn't mean that if he's out, we will win a lot of games with just anybody else.
Yeah.
But the San Francisco 49ers would win a lot of games with Kirk Cousins. They would win a lot of games with I'm trying to think like another relatively solid quarterback that you sit there and go, Derek Carr. They'd win a lot of games with Derek Carr. So it's not like Jimmy is a nobody, but Kyle's proven in his track record, he wins a lot of games with good quarterbacks.
We're talking to Dan Orlovsky of the Mothership, Septem VP. I've coined that. trademarked it. Who was your September VP in the NFL?
Lamar.
Okay.
Lamar Jackson. He, candidly, he was my pick in the preseason. Up until last week's game and a little bit of the second half fall off, he was the number one passing quarterback in the NFL. He was a top 5 rusher. He had counted for 90% of their offense. It was ridiculous. Credit Josh Allen and Buffalo for their comeback. But what Lamar is doing and being asked to do is still tremendous. He's covering up for a defense that's not very good. He's covering up for a run game right now that's not great in Baltimore. I would say, I can't always just give you one. Patrick is absolutely in that conversation. The way that Patrick right now is playing is, it's as good as he's played in his MVP year, and the stuff that he is capable of doing now with their offensive line is special. And I was thinking about this question. The third person I would put in there is Micah Parsons. I really would. Dallas's defense it's the most, I said this on Get Up yesterday, Dallas has the most reliable play in all of football, and that is a passing down situation. If you are in an obvious pass situation, and because of Micah, you have no shot. You have no shot against that defense. So those 3.
And now, Cooper Rush is your quarterback. They'll probably try to trade Dak Prescott, right? Or he's going to be.
Yeah, let's instead of going with the guy that we gave $140 million to, let's go with the guy that wasn't even on our active roster 5 days before game 1. Let's do that.
But I did point this out the last 2 weeks. If Dak put up the numbers that Cooper Rush did, we'd go, yeah, Dak didn't have a great game. I mean, kind of pedestrian. He had 1 touchdown pass and threw for 207 yards or something. Cooper Rush, we're like, damn, get ready for Canton. Man, this guy's unbelievable.
Expectation breeds disappointment. Yeah. I mean, that's the expectations were, I was one of those people when Dak went down, I was like, your season's done if you don't get a quarterback, and I honestly felt that way because Cooper Rush, 5 years in, he was on practice squad. No one's claiming him. You're sitting there. This offensive line's not going to be good. Michael Gallup won't be back. City's not proven. And I kind of think one of the things that's interesting about Dallas is everybody has to learn from this situation in Dallas, not just Dak, everyone. And there's a difference between identity and philosophy. For Dallas, your philosophy should not change, when Dak comes back. Our philosophy should be, well, we're more than Dak Prescott. Our offensive line can be good in the run game. And we don't have to try to, hey, we got to be the number 1 scoring offense in the NFL. Our identity can be philosophically that, hey, as long as our defense isn't put in really bad situations, we're not going to give games away. And, during the regular season, that's a really good way to build yourself up for the playoffs.
I've been on my soapbox talking about the Tua situation, wanting to know, even if it's not a concussion, if you get up and you stumble like that a couple of times, you have to be held up. Just the eye test said you shouldn't be back in a football game. You shouldn't be. And I used the analogy that a former quarterback gave me. If I was at a party at your house and I got up and I did that, would you let me drive home? And the answer is no, you would not.
Right.
But they're sticking with that was a back injury, and then this was a concussion, and now he's not playing this week. So where do you stand with? And then they fire the independent neurologist here. Like somebody had to pay a price so the media, people like me, would go away. Like, hey, we took care of it, no problem. And then Cameron Brate has a concussion on Sunday night. Now, he said it was his shoulder. He goes back into the game.
Yeah. I think, obviously this has been a really good, not good conversation. It's been a really interesting one. I was on TV the day after the Tua stuff. So I saw the Tua play and he goes down, and I've had that before personally. I've watched my teammates do, and you go, yep, concussion. And then it comes out, well, in the broadcast, back. I don't know if it's not a back injury or not. Like my natural history tells me that looks like a head thing, but I also have seen people with debilitating back issues like go down like that, So I went to school for 17 years for me to graduate college. I don't know. So
yeah, but he grabbed his head.
Sure, but I again, my natural thought was okay, that's concussion. But then when the report comes out back, I was at the point, Dan, where I was like, you know what? There has been such a conversation around head injuries in football for 10 plus years now. And the NFL has done such a good job of putting this at the forefront that I have no reason not to trust that situation. Like, I have no reason to sit there and go, absolutely not, the Dolphins are lying, or that independent neurologist, there's no way that they know what they're doing. Again, me or the independent neurologist? Who do I believe can handle the situation better?
But the NFL has lied to us before, Dan. They deceived us before.
But when was the last time that we feel like the NFL deceived us when it came to this? Was it 2 years ago, or was it 15 years ago, 20 years ago, right?
Well, they did have a settlement where they paid out $1 billion. And
sure, but you know what I'm saying? Because I had this new era mindset of it, of, man, the lawsuits of the past, and I even said on Get Up, like, we're past the point of players being like, no, I'm good. You're no longer allowed to do that.
Because if you're 24 and you took a hit like Tua and you're trying to stay with the Lions and play,
there's no shot
I'm telling
you my head hurts. Correct.
Yes, you're going to lie.
Correct.
But the grown-up has to assess that and say, he's in trouble, even if it's a back injury. And I can't put him back in.
Totally. And that's where, like, absolutely, I would have lied about that. And but I had given the assumption that the grown-up would handle it the right way, at least in their non-biased medical profession. Obviously, it certainly feels like that was something with his head on that Sunday, and then the Thursday night happens. The most interesting part about it now for me is because everyone's like, well, even if they're wobbly, they got to get out of the game and they shouldn't be allowed in the game. And my pushback is this, Dan, because I think that's very easy for all of us to sit here and say, what happens if that's the AFC title game?
Yeah. It's like what Mahomes, when Mahomes got hurt a couple of years ago and it was his knee. Now, I can't take him out if it's his knee, right?
Right. So what happens if I take this massive shot as a quarterback and I get hit to the ground, and really I think I might have just broke a rib or something like that. And my first thing is like, oh my gosh, and then it grabs his head. It's just, I don't believe that there's this perfect black and white answer for it. Err on the side of caution for sure. But again, there's this also very real reality of when the stakes are at the absolute highest, do we still feel that same way about those situations?
I know. I think it's fair. In the final 30 seconds, watching Green Bay and Tampa Bay feels like this is who Green Bay is going to be this season.
Yep.
Tampa Bay can still be better. When they get everybody back or get healthier. So higher ceiling, Green Bay or Tampa Bay?
I say Green Bay.
Oh, really?
Green Bay's the second most explosive offense in the NFL right now, and they got rookie receivers having a big impact. Those kids are only going to get better. I think it's hard for me to sit here and believe that Tampa is going to get healthier. That's one of the hardest things in the league, that usually get less healthy as the season goes. Still really good, but I'm really high on Green Bay right now after the first month.
We love having you on every time UConn wins, UConn football, and I
see it.
Yeah. It looks like you just bought that.
Dynasty brewing.
Did you just buy that? It looks like it's got a tag on
Dynasty brewing, Dan.
Nobody dominates Fresno State like you guys do.
Hey, they can't come cross country and think they're going to just get given a win.
Great to talk to you.
Thanks, bud. Be
well.
Thank
you, man. That's Dan Orlovsky of the Mothership.